like if you wanna like harass someone, just kind of spam them with penis pictures or whatever it is. And the spamming is so easy. Just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, and you can generate a lot of rubbish very quickly with computers. Like you can generate a lot of crap very quickly when you're on a computer. Just penis, 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 spam, 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 and it just everyone says penises. But to stop that, how would you stop that? You have to kind of you have to have somebody look at every picture to see which ones are the penises and which ones are not. So the person spamming just copies and pastes and just spams, whereas the person trying to stop it has to analyze every picture, has to check every picture to see what it is, to understand what it is, and then to block the penises. And it's just like the cost of making the trouble is so much lower than the cost of stopping it. That like you have to change that cost equation somehow to make that work. And until then, we're gonna have problems. And then this cost thing, like the cost imbalance means that you can have a small number of douchebags make a lot of trouble for a large number of legitimate users. Okay, let's go to the spider dungeon. I'm kind of sick of this. You can have a small number of spammers make a lot of trouble for a large number of because of the cost imbalance, right? Because it's so much cheaper to make the problem than to solve the problem. I'm not sure that's enough rotten flesh for us to trade for anything. Let's go check what the spider... Where is the spider dungeon? Let me just go back to the surface. It's beyond the fourth chasm. I think it's faster to go from the surface. And you know, people, like, when it happens, like, people send death threats. No Man's Sky is an example. Like, people send death threats to, who's the guy who makes No Man's Sky? I forgot his name. It's like, alright, well, No Man's Sky was pretty bad. And, you know, you're right, he shouldn't have made those promises. He shouldn't have said all those things. Since they couldn't deliver what they said they wanted to deliver. And that happens in game development. It's not like it's the first time it's ever happened. But the death threats and the constant harassment and the hate, it doesn't actually improve the situation for anyone. Not even for the people who are generating the hate. Like, it doesn't improve the situation for them either. So yeah. So it's very disproportionate. Like the supposed thing that people do to earn that kind of response. It's disproportionate, right? But again, like, you know, the cost and the cost of generating the abuse and the cost of stopping it is disproportionate as well. And you know, every reasonable person, like everyone who's not insane, can say, all right, well, the death threats are a bit over the top. They're a little bit, you know, disproportionate. The death threats, the bomb threats, and things like that. It's a little bit much. But how do you stop it? Because it will happen. Like, there's always gonna be a certain percentage of unreasonable people That's not to say we give them a pass. Of course, you have to stop them. You have to get them to shut the hell up, and you have to like. It doesn't mean you don't try to stop them. You do try to stop them. Like, I'm not saying that this gives them a pass. What I'm saying is that no matter, even if you stop them 100% successfully, they will still appear, right? Like, even if you somehow make all the existing douchebags disappear from the face of the earth, new douchebags will be born, will grow up to be douchebags, and then people will just keep appearing. So there's no final solution to douchebaggery on the internet. because new ones will always appear in time. So, but you have to like keep it under control. And for now, in terms of cost of douchebaggery versus the cost of preventing douchebaggery, means that it's usually the smaller communities that work. Like, the bigger a community is, the less likely it is that it can work. Because, like, interactions multiply. If you have 5 people and 1 moderator, you can moderate 5 people. If you have 50 people and 10 moderators, I guess you can still do it. But when you have 5,000 people, even if you have 1,000 moderators, you can't really stop them, because there's a diminishing returns on the effectiveness of your moderators, right? Because the interactions multiply. When there's 5,000 people, one person posts a penis picture, 5,000 people sees the penis. How are you gonna, whereas if there's 5 people, one person posts a penis picture, you just slap the guy and kick him out of the room. It's like the scale thing. I don't know if I'm explaining this properly. Maybe I'm not. But let's say like a Twitch chat where everyone is in the same chat room. I mean, you can see this in action. Like, go to any Twitch chat and just see how many people are in the chat versus the quality of the chat. Like, as the number of people increase, the quality of the chat just declines. Just because, I guess Twitch chat is especially bad because you have everybody crammed into the same room. When there's 10 people in a room, you can have a conversation. When you have 10,000 people in the same room, everyone's just shouting. Because, like, the way Twitch chat works, you say something, all 10,000 people sees what you typed. And you have 10,000 people trying to say things at the same time, and it just doesn't work. So the chat doesn't actually work. I don't know if I've talked about it before, but in Diablo 3, there's a general chat, which is just kind of random people. But each general chat room is limited to 100 people. So you go into so when you log into the game, it says you have joined general chat. 98 people in chat. That's the kind of thing it will say. And it never says more than 100. And so there's like a general chat, but the general chat is divided into 100 random people. And I'm guessing there's a moderator for every chat room. So they divide, so there might be, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people playing Diablo 3 at any one time. But they're all divided into little rooms of 100 people each. And of course, I said it little because most of the times the chat rooms don't have any activity because everyone's just too busy playing the game. Occasionally, there'll be like a conversation going on in the chat room. But usually, even then, it's still only like 5 or 10 people talking in the chat room, like exchanging dank memes most of the time. And so that's manageable. So I guess, I mean, and Blizzard has a lot of experience with this sort of stuff, right? So they have decided that 100 players in a room at any one time in a game where they're mostly just playing the game anyway, like that is sufficient to moderate. Like you can put one moderator into that chat channel, and that moderator can deal with 100 people most of the time, and that's what they do. And good. And and if somebody is being an absolute douchebag, then it's limited to that 100 people. Like if somebody puts a penis picture in Diablo chat, which no one has yet, don't do it. Don't do it. But if somebody goes into Diablo chat and like draws an ASCII penis, at most you have 100 people offended. Probably less because some people just think that's funny. But at most 100 people will be offended. So it also contains the damage, I suppose. But that's not I mean that's how Blizzard has decided to build that particular social environment, and that's not always viable. It's not always possible to like limit every chat room to 100 people. But if you imagine, imagine if Twitch chat was like that. It's divided into sub-rooms of 100 people. And if you're just in a random chat, it's just a random 100 people. I think that would actually improve things a lot. I'm just wondering if that would negatively impact the experience for the chatters. I mean, these days, Twitch chat, people expect the spam, and they expect the cappers, and they expect the occasional copy pasta. Twitch is surprisingly not very innovative with their chat, even though chat is toxic in a lot of big channels and a lot of big yeah. I don't know why Twitch doesn't. Maybe they think it's funny. Maybe they think spamming capper is funny too, and so they just encourage it. But yeah, I mean, online societies have not been around that long, and so I find it fascinating, these sorts of questions. What to do with online communities. Divide Twitch chat into rooms of no more than 100 people. Or maybe you can let the streamer set the size of each room. I'm just thinking of the streams that I watch, right? Sometimes I watch esports. I watched a bit of Bob Ross when I was around. So like when you let's say you go into an esports stream, like Dota or like Street Fighter or something like that. What do you expect? You expect people to respond to the game? You expect a bit of hype? Unfortunately, with a lot of esports streams, you expect a bit of stupidity, like just dumb copy pasta and what the? Who is that? I don't even see the skeleton. That wasn't drowning. You don't drown that fast. That skeleton got stuck in geometry and died. Wait, what happened? That wasn't a skeleton getting stuck in the water. That was getting stuck in geometry. I don't know what happened there. But 2 arrows, nice. If you limit the number of active chatters to 100 or maybe 1,000, I don't watch Twitch streams that much. But maybe a study can be made. You can probably do a study on the number of viewers versus the toxicity of the chat. and just kind of just do a statistical analysis of that. And then you can just find the optimum. You can quite easily, like if you graph on one axis number of people in the chat, and on the other axis the quality of the chat, then you can probably just find the optimum and say, and then you break up the chat rooms to that size so that you can maximize the interactivity without compromising the quality of the chat. But I just don't think Twitch does this ever. I don't think Twitch ever considers stuff like this. I wonder how many moderators the big channels have in the chat rooms. If it were me, I would prioritize this stuff. Like if I was Twitter, if I was Reddit, I would prioritize this stuff like research into AI to identify toxic comments on Reddit. Imagine that. I mean, Reddit is famous for being quote-unquote open and free and people can do whatever they want. But, you know, like any libertarian paradise, there's also a lot of trash on Reddit. A lot of toxic trash. I'm not saying everyone is, but I'm just saying that because the trash is uncontained, it can mess up a lot of people's days. Right? I mean, you don't need a little bit of trash can ruin a lot of people's days if it's uncontained. So, I mean, if I have money, if I'm, you know, in that business and I have money, I would just invest my money into that. I think Twitter needs it because the vitriol in certain parts of Twitter is atrocious. I think Reddit needs it. Interestingly, YouTube, I think YouTube has managed to figure that out. Maybe YouTube is doing it. Maybe Google is actually doing it without us realizing. Because on YouTube, if somebody leaves a comment that is bad, you can flag it for being offensive. And nobody really knows what that means when you do that. Right? Like nobody really knows what happens on their side. Like you flag a thing as offensive, but they never respond to you, and no one's ever responded to me. And you know, in the best case scenario, I would imagine that there's some learning algorithm on the other end, where whenever somebody flags something as offensive, it just goes into an AI, and they just kind of take that message and they say, alright, this looks offensive. And they just kind of keep that in mind. And then over time, the AI would just accumulate thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of these comments that are offensive. And they would eventually learn certain patterns as to what is offensive. And then what I have found happening is that sometimes I would type a comment that looks controversial, partly because I'm a bit of a troll, but partly because I want to say thought-provoking things. I'm not there to insult people for no reason, but you know, sometimes I type in thought-provoking things. I mean, okay, you might say I'm being offensive, but I'm not. I promise you, I'm not. So, but then I would notice that it would say comment failed to post. They don't tell you you've been censored, but they'll say comment failed to post. And sometimes when this happens, I would rephrase it using less controversial words. And then sometimes the comment will post afterwards. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that on YouTube. I've noticed that on YouTube. Like when you type when you kind of type comments and you try to post them, sometimes they'll say comment failed to post. And there's no obvious reason why. But if you rephrase it to make it sound more polite, it will post. I've noticed this for a while now, and I do think that there actually is a quiet moderator, a quiet like an AI moderator. I think there is.